welcome to the One Lonely Owl YouTube channel. My name is Terry and I am the purveyor of the One Lonely Owl YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing a drop-in for a yarn. As you can tell, I'm in a different space. My dog is with me. He has decided that he wants to be part of this episode. What else? So I'm in a different space. My dog is here. Oh, and I'm just not going to sort of formally go through all of the general things that I usually do. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that I have been up to. And now that I've said that, I realized I wanted to be knitting, but instead I'm petting this puppy dog. I'm just going to grab something that's close to knit. I always have a dishcloth on the needles, pardon me, because honestly I find it very therapeutic. So join me, grab your knitting, let's sit and get comfortable for a little bit. I will explain. My children, we live in Alberta, and if you are from Canada, you may have heard that Alberta's teachers are on strike, and our children, I didn't think that would take very long. He's annoyed with me already. But you can hear his toenails on the floor. If he barks, I apologize in advance. Maybe don't wear headphones for this episode. So my children go to school. We live in Alberta. The teachers are on strike, and we don't really have any timeline as to when they are not going to be on strike anymore. So, basically I took the few minutes that I had while they were gone on a little adventure with their dad, so that I could get in front of the camera and we could connect again. So I have a few notes over here on my armchair, excuse me, and I'm just going to sit and knit and kind of tell you a few stories. Like I said, if you want to join, grab a cup of tea, grab a glass of water, whatever tickles your fancy, and join me in just a little quick session of knitting. I will say, hopefully the microphone works okay, because I'm using a totally different setup. This is how lazy I was this morning. I didn't go get my tripod. I didn't get anything to set it up. I literally put you on a stool over there in my living room. This is my knitting corner. As you could tell, my knitting is always right here. So, yeah, I just kind of... Did I do the yarn over? Yes, I did. Look at me. I can do these with my eyes closed. So this is where I usually sit and knit when my family is about, when we're hanging out as a family. My little chair in the corner is where I like to go to be quiet, have some quiet time. My daughter sometimes will come and join me and just sit in the chair with me, and she'll read a book, or I'll read a book, or I'll knit and she'll watch television, which is right behind you. But yeah. Today, I wanted to go over some of the things that have happened between the last time I saw you, which was about a month ago, till now. A lot has happened. Not a ton of knitting, although some... Hold, please. Siggy? Sig! Hey! Sig? Sig? Hopefully I can either mute that section or take it out altogether. Come here, bud. Come. Thank you. Good boy. Okay, come sit. Just sit. Just hang out with me. You don't have to be bossy with your hands. We're talking to the people that wanted to chat with us about their knitting and stuff. Do you want to say hello? My kids will be devastated to know that my dog is on the channel, but not them. They really want to be part of the channel, and I won't let them because they're minors. Anyway, where was I? We were talking about, all the things that have happened between the last time. So that's kind of what I'm going to cover, minus the specific knitting stuff. I'm basically going to go through maybe some general things that I've done, some other knitting that I've touched, but I'm not going to sort of pull out all the projects and show you. All right, we're going to try that again. So I'm going to start with the two secret projects that please don't knock that stool. Thank you. We are going to start off with the two secret projects that I had on the needles / hook the last time I talked about what I was working on, and those are done. Those are 2 blankets. If I have photos, I'll do my best to insert them here over my beautiful pink blinds. No judgment, please. This house was built in the 1990s, and the pink blinds are still here because the windows are massive, and we haven't decided what we're going to do with those yet. Anyway, back to the knitting / crochet. I crocheted 2 blankets, one each for my aunt and uncle. They were the ones that were coming across from Newfoundland. I don't actually know if I shared this at all. Okay, let's start from the beginning. My aunt and uncle and their partners, their husbands and wives, decided that they were going to do a cross-country trip. So my family, at where I'm from, if you are new here, I'm from Newfoundland, which is the eastern point of Canada. And the 4 of them were going to get into their trailer or camper or whatever it's called and drive across country. So they did. And they decided that when they got here, they wanted to pick me up, and I was going to continue on with them west. So if you're not familiar with the map of Canada, Alberta is the 2nd most west province. West of us is British Columbia, and then east of us is the rest of the country. So we were going to start in Alberta, or I was going to start in Alberta. They had already done a few weeks of the traveling, and we were going to head across to British Columbia. Now, again, if you're not super familiar with the geography, and if you are, I apologize, this is a very basic description of it. Alberta is considered part of the prairies, and we also are kind of the start of the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, and then into the Rocky Mountains kind of cross Alberta and British Columbia. Absolutely beautiful. However, makes for challenging terrain when you are traveling in a very large camper, because there is something called the Rogers Pass, and it is a very trepidatious? Not sure what the word would be. It's not unsafe, it's just a little bit scary in some points. So my 2 uncles were doing the driving, and so we sort of discussed the way that we would go across to British Columbia and decided that we would go down through what's called the Crow's Nest Pass, which is a little bit south, a little further south, and takes a little bit longer than the Rogers Pass would. So off we went. We left here. Oh, before we left, I got all my family to get together and we did some family photos. I would like to think that some of them some of them turned out okay, but my child, my little boy, is a bit of a jokester, so he thought it would be funny to make silly faces and all that sort of stuff. So some of them, they're passable, but they're definitely not all perfect, that's for sure. Anyway, so we had some family photos done, and we headed off westward southwestward. So first we headed south through southern Alberta down toward Highway 3, the Crow's Nest Pass. And if I've got enough energy, or if it makes sense, I can sort of put a map in of Alberta. Otherwise, you can probably follow along on Google Maps if you like. So we headed down the Crow's Nest Pass and then started to head west when it turns that way. What you'll notice if you're looking at a map, excuse me, is basically from Calgary you head south, and then we turn off Highway 3 and then you head west, and it's really close to the US border. So we knew that we wanted to be in a specific place on the second day. So we knew that we kind of had to, how else do you say haul ass without saying ass? Anyway, we had to haul ass to get as far as we could the first night so that we didn't have as much of a drive on the second night. Because on the second night, we were going to be headed to a place called Powell River, which is technically part of the mainland of British Columbia, but not accessible by land, as far as I know. So as far as I know, you have to take 2 ferries to get there. And there's a couple of different ways, but the way that we took was we drove to Horseshoe Bay, Vancouver, and then took the ferry from Horseshoe Bay to, oh gosh, anyway, can't remember the name of it, but one of them was Earl's Cove, but I think that one was the second ferry. Horseshoe Bay to starts with L. Anyway, I'll put the name of it on the screen if I do any editing of this video. And then we took the second ferry, drove a little while, and then took the second ferry to Powell River, which is where my cousin lives. That was kind of the end destination that they wanted to hit. So we did that, and it was absolutely wonderful. Although I will say that all along the Highway 3 started to get a little bit, what is the word I'm trying to think of? Sketchy, isn't it? But that's what it felt like. It was sketchy because it was late at night, it was dark, the animals, the wildlife were all sort of out on the highways, and we landed in Osoyoos around 1:30 a.m. So we just went sort of to the other side of Osoyoos to a rest area and stopped there. But before that, when we were leaving Castlegar, we left Castlegar, British Columbia, and shortly thereafter hit a deer. Rather, a deer hit us. So this deer came out of what seemed like nowhere. On the passenger side of the vehicle, so the north side of the road, there was a north side of the road? Yeah. Anyway, there was, say, 3 or 4 deer on that stretch, and my uncle that was in the passenger seat was sort of keeping an eye on those, and my uncle in the driver's seat was also keeping an eye because obviously he didn't want to hit any. And of course, there was one last guy left over on the driver's side, so he decided he was going to, he or she, not sure if we ever found out the sex, he decided he was going to jump into the side of the motorhome, and that's exactly what he did. He did a fair bit of damage. We were safe. I don't think he made it by the looks of the dent on the side of the motorhome, but anyway, we did get out of there safely, and we decided to stop at just after Osoyoos, which is actually a fair ways out of Castlegar. But anyway, so yeah, off we went to the rest stop to Osoyoos. We got some rest and then got up early the next morning to head to the ferry in Vancouver. So we hit Horseshoe Bay just in time for the ferry that we had booked. It was such a nice feeling to feel the ocean again. Like I said 100 times, I grew up in Newfoundland, and the ocean wasn't that close to me, but there were bodies of water pretty much everywhere. There's lakes and rivers and creeks, and I mean the ocean's never really that far away because the Newfoundland's not that large of an island. But it was nice. It was nice to get back to the ocean and to sort of feel the feeling of the moisture on your skin and to smell the salt water. That was quite wonderful. Good for the soul. Oh my gosh, I just realized I skipped a whole bunch of stuff that I did before these things. I'll go back to those, and I'll tell you about the trip to BC. That was kind of the highlight of the last few weeks. That and the Banff Wellness Retreat, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So yeah, we get on the ferry, we get to the mainland again, which I still think is very bizarre, but anyway, we went from Vancouver to the place that starts with L. Anyway, then we drove through and got to the second ferry and then landed and drove to Powell River. The drive in the daytime is stunning. The trees are beautiful, they're huge. The area that Powell River is in, I believe, is one of the very few, I think the only other area in Canada that qualifies as a rainforest is parts of Vancouver Island. Anyway, stunning. It's picturesque, unbelievable. Again, if I can, I'll sort of maybe pop some photos up as I'm talking about this, about areas that we were. The Powell River specifically, I found it felt like a different world. Like their trees were different. They had palm trees in, what's the name? Lund. Lund is a town just, I think it's considered north. Pretty sure. I'll look it up on a map, and again, if I can, I'll screenshot a map and poke it there. But otherwise, you can, again, follow me along. Google Maps, you're looking for a place called Lund, L-U-N-D, British Columbia. So we drove up there and had a wonderful little lunch at this breakfast cafe type place called Nancy's. Anyway, gorgeous, beautiful time, beautiful driving, beautiful scenery, and we actually had some really, really, really nice weather. For the first little while, first maybe day that we were in Powell River, we didn't have the best weather. It was raining a fair bit. Although not enough to deter me. I don't know. Maybe those of you that live in rainforest areas, maybe it grates on your nerves after a while, but I didn't find it too bad for a couple of days. But then, like I said, we did get some beautiful sunny days after that. Still cool autumn days because we are in the northern hemisphere up here. My gosh, I hope you're following along. I am all over the place today. So we're in Powell River. We're having a wonderful time. We visit with my cousin. We have some dinners. We have some nice nights together. We hang out. We take some family photos because I wanted to get some with my cousin in them. And yeah, we met her boyfriend who was lovely. And then I went off on my own adventuring. My extended family stayed in Powell River to stay with my cousin for a few more days. But one of my very, very, very best friends lives on Vancouver Island. And if you look at a map, she lives in Campbell River and Powell River are, excuse me, basically like the same latitude. There's no relative, I mean, I guess there is an easy way to get there. You just go across on one ferry and then you're on the island, and then it's about an hour drive to her place, but it's very, very close. So I couldn't be that close without making some sort of effort to go see her. So we planned a little adventure, and I jumped on the boat in Powell River and crossed to Courtenay, Comox, British Columbia, which is on the island, on Vancouver Island. I keep calling it the island. That's what we call it out here. Again, I realize that's a little bit blasphemous being from Newfoundland, and Newfoundland is a much larger island. It's just in Alberta, everybody knows Vancouver Island as the island. Excuse me. So, I end up on the boat, headed across by myself with my little backpack and a bag of knitting, of course, and went to my girlfriend's place, and we spent a lovely couple of days just adventuring. She showed me all around the area, the island that she's from, not where she's from, where she lives, because she's actually from Haida Gwaii, which is I think it's northwest of the island, just a little bit. It's a little group of islands northwest of Vancouver Island, I think. I know it's north. Pretty sure it's just a smidge west. Anywho, so she's showing me around Vancouver Island. Her and her husband and I are good friends, so we had some lovely nights just sitting and chatting, and then we went to some beaches and kind of, actually, the word that I would use would be twacking. We sort of twacked around some towns, excuse me, and did a little bit of shopping. I wanted to bring some souvenirs back to my kids, and maybe buy a couple of stickers for my water bottle or something. So we did that and had an absolutely wonderful time. The night before my family came to pick me up, we went to the grocery store and we picked up some things for what we jokingly called high tide tea. So we wanted to have a high tea sort of experience, but we wanted to do it basically for supper. So we did it in the evening. So we wanted to call it high tide tea. Anyway, so we had this wonderful little setup. Again, I'll put some photos in here of some of the things that we had. And it was wonderful. We sat and watched the new Downton Abbey movie called The Grand Finale, which was also wonderful. I think I say wonderful a lot. I feel like I'm taking a page out of Andrew's book from The Almanac Knitter. If you don't watch The Almanac Knitter, please do. He's wonderful. He's from Scotland, and I feel like he and I might be kindred souls. Anyway, I say wonderful a lot, I think. He says lovely. Lovely is his favorite word. So maybe I'll switch it up and use a little bit of lovely. Andrew, if you're watching, I don't think you do, but if you are watching, I have no problems with you using the word lovely. I think it's a great word to describe what you are describing. Oh gosh, where was I? So we're having high tide tea, and we're having wonderful little sandwiches. We had cucumber and cream cheese sandwiches, smoked salmon, what else? Oh, we had lemon curd with the best thing we could find, closest thing we could find to clotted cream, which was a thick cream made by Carnation. What else? I don't know. It was just a wonderful time. We fed ourselves, had a lovely dinner, and watched the Downton Abbey movie with cups of tea, obviously. We had hundreds of cups of tea. Maybe not hundreds, but I had very many. I think I had 3 or 4 cups of tea that night. And went to bed without any concern at all. Yeah, so that was the island. Then we met with my family again. We met back up with them, and then we went down to Parksville. I say down because it's south of where we were. Went down to Parksville. I got to visit my favorite used bookstore. It's called Fireside Books in Parksville, British Columbia. They have a great online, what's the word when you correlate? Like when you, it's like a collection, but anyway, oh my God, I just had it. Whatever. They have a great selection of books online, and it's put together really well, so they're easily sortable, and like you can find them. You can find them by genre. You can find them by what aisle they're in at the store. If you know what aisle that you like to shop, aisle 5 is historical fiction or whatever. Anyway, so it's really, really easily accessible and easy to order from them, but also they have, like, if you buy X dollars of books, you can have free shipping, which everybody knows how I feel about free shipping. If you don't, I will buy $100 worth of stuff I don't need just to get free shipping. And if you're like me, I can hear you chuckling right now. Anyway, so I went there, had a wonderful time there. We had a nice little campsite in Parksville. My aunt and I actually walked from the campsite to the store in Parksville, to the actual brick and mortar Fireside's bookstore, which was awesome. Unfortunately, we got into Parksville a little bit later. The store closed at 6, and we didn't get in until like 4:30. So by the time we left to walk up there, it was maybe a half an hour walk. So we got there at like 5:15. And I spent so much time just looking around and having a wonderful time gazing at books and perusing. And of course, I came home with a collection. And what else did we do? Oh, my cousin actually came to visit. My cousin lives in Nanaimo. So she drove up, because Parksville is only an hour from Nanaimo. She drove up and we visited with her and her kids for a bit, and again, had a lovely visit. And then, what else? We headed home. So that's when we started heading back east. Oh my goodness, I skipped Tofino and the Cathedral Grove. Wow, okay. We did a lot of stuff. It was a lot. They picked me up in Courtney Comox, and then we drove down. Oh, we did the Goats on the Roof. Everybody loves Goats on the Roof. Which is a little sort of farmer's market-y area, pretty touristy, but they literally have goats that live on the roof of their building, so that's kind of neat. And then we did Parksville, Goats on the Roof. Yeah, then we headed west. We went to Tofino, which, again, if you're familiar with the island or if you're following along on a map, Tofino is on the west coast of Vancouver Island, and it's sort of known to be a bit of a surfing place, so people that like to surf really like to go there. So we went to Tofino. We got in late. We had a fire. The next day we did a little bit of beach combing, I guess you could call it. So we did that. had lunch. Oh, my cousin and I bought some gelato. It was lovely. I ate the whole pint to myself in one sitting. It was wonderful. Yeah, we stayed the night in Tofino. We came back through, stopped again at Goats on the Roof because my uncle wanted to get something for my dad. And then we went and headed to the ferry. So we went straight to the ferry, got on there, and crossed again to Vancouver and headed from Vancouver, Horseshoe Bay, to Port Coquitlam. We had a little bit of an agenda, and we wanted to kind of get some timing down. So we went to Port Coquitlam, which is where, if you're not familiar with Terry Fox, I highly encourage you to look him up. If you're not Canadian. If you're Canadian and you don't know Terry Fox, we have a problem. But if you're not from Canada, you may not have heard of him before, although I'm sure you might have. Anyway, I think everybody should know Terry Fox. If you don't, look him up. If you do, join the club. So we went to Port Coquitlam, which is where Terry was from. And we went to see the Terry Fox Foundation. They were the most wonderful and welcoming. It's a foundation, so, it's not a museum. It's not really like meant for visitors, but they were very welcoming. They welcomed us in. They had a few t-shirts left from some of the schools. So the school run for Terry Fox was maybe a week or 2 weeks before. So some of the t-shirts that they had accumulated at the schools that they didn't use got sent back. And so we bought a couple of t-shirts. We took some photos. We chatted with some of the staff, had a nice time there. The front receptionist, I didn't catch her name, but she was wonderful. Excuse me. She gave us a couple of things, some ideas of places we could visit that would be interesting. So one of those places was the Port Coquitlam Community Center, and it was a little bit of like a museum. It was an exhibit, I guess you would call it. So you walk in the front door and everything is Terry Fox. And the athlete that he was. The community center is, like where the ice rinks are, the rec center basically. The swimming pool is there, and there's a little bit of like a museum type exhibit where Terry Fox's prosthetic leg was, his shoes, a bunch of his letters that he wrote to the government back in, the late 70s to encourage them to support him on his run, the Run for Hope, which was in 1980, where he attempted to run across Canada on one leg and with a prosthetic leg. And he had been running for cancer then because he had a cancer diagnosis early in his life. So yeah, we went there. We went to the foundation, we went to the rec center, and then we went to the gravesite. So Terry is buried in Port Coquitlam at I think it's just called the Port Coquitlam Graveyard, maybe? I'm not 100% sure. Cemetery? Is that what they call it? A cemetery, not a graveyard. So we went there, we paid our respects, took some photos, because Terry means a lot to me, and I didn't share this with you yet, I don't think, but my uncle that was traveling across Canada, one of his reasons for coming was because he also sort of really relates to Terry Fox. His name is Terry. He is 6 months older than Terry Fox and also had a cancer diagnosis. So yeah, we're all sort of in the same, not in the same space, like we're all kind of part of the same team, I guess is how I would describe it. So Terry means a lot to me, he means a lot to my Uncle Terry, and then of course the rest of our family by extension. Terry means a lot to all Canadians. I feel like I'm not doing him justice. For any of the Canadians out there that are listening, I apologize, but you know who he is and what he's done for our country and what he's done for cancer research. So it was an extremely challenging day for me emotionally, but also very important. It was a very important thing that I think that I did and that I will probably do again. I would like to actually take my children. My cancer story started in mid to late September of 2022, which is around about when the Terry Fox run is during school year. So I was diagnosed, and then when I came home from the hospital after the 3 days that I was admitted, my son came home from kindergarten with the Terry Fox run pledge sheet, and it sort of is ingrained in me that those things are kind of hand in hand, and my children have raised thousands of dollars for the Terry Fox Foundation on their own in their little schools and in the little town that we live in, and our family obviously is quite supportive. So I've gone on a total tangent. Port Coquitlam was absolutely wonderful. Terry Fox is absolutely wonderful and lovely even. And yeah, the support that his foundation has seen since his passing, just incredible. They're almost at $1 billion raised for cancer research. So keep going. Some of the highlights of the trip that are not trip specific, they're not town specific or anything like that. I have a wound on my chest. Again, if you're new here, you wouldn't have heard about this guy before, but I've had a wound on my chest for, it's almost a year that the port was removed, but the port was inserted a year and, oh my gosh, a year and a half ago? August of 2024. Yeah, so we're almost a year and a half ago. It was never functional. I wasn't able to use it because it didn't close. And then the removal was January of 2025. So I had the port removed in January 2025, and it just closed on October 1st when I was in, don't exactly know where we were, but I think we were in British Columbia. We were still in BC, I'm pretty sure at the time. Might have even been still on the island. Anywho, we had a little celebratory party that night where, we all had a drink and went to bed. We had a drink literally, because on the road in a motorhome is a lot. But yeah, we all sort of cheersed and said thanks and gave gratitude for the fact that my wound is finally closed and I can do things like maybe have a shower and get in the pool and not have to worry about changing a dressing. I haven't been in a pool in over a year and a half. So yeah, that was a wonderful little highlight. My wound is closed. We had the tea party I already talked about. I saw my favorite bookstore. The Terry Fox thing was a really big deal. My family came to visit. We visited some of my cousins. And what else? Yeah, so I guess then we headed back east and we landed in Alberta, and my family stayed another couple of nights so that we could have a little bit of a rest. We had a wonderful pizza party to celebrate my husband, who has been the rock through all of this for me. He sort of held down the fort when I was in the hospital. He held down the fort when I was too sick to, when I'm going through chemo and all that sort of thing. So my family had a pizza party because my husband loves pizza. So we ordered way too many pizzas. We ate as much as we could that night. And then my husband and our 2 kids ate pizza for a week until we were finished them. It was nice. It was really funny. I'll insert a photo here as well of the pizzas that we ordered. My aunt was sitting in the back of my truck and you could barely see her face. I think you can see like her forehead and maybe she pokes her eyes up and you could see. It's really, really funny. So what else? The pizza party, then they left, and then we kind of got back to normal a little bit. I'll go back now. We're going to go back in time to before the trip to British Columbia and all the things that I've done since. So I talked about the blankets that I made. Some of the highlights of my summer/early fall. I grew roses this year. To be fair, I bought them in a bush. So I kept the bush alive is basically what I'm describing. I took some photos of those and I was really proud of them because they actually had flowers on them. I didn't kill them. I went to a Noah Reid concert. Again, if you're new here, you haven't heard me talk about this guy, another Canadian. He is a lovely artist. He is a musician as well as an actor. If you're familiar with Schitt's Creek, He plays Patrick on Schitt's Creek, and he is a musician as well. So my best friend and I went to see him in concert. It was wonderful. I grew roses, I made blankets, I saw Noah Reid. Oh, my best friend and our 3 kids, so my 2 kids and her little boy, we all went on a small hike in an area just sort of southwest of where we live. Actually, I think it's just west for her, but it's southwest for me. That was nice. It was a lot more challenging than I expected it to, with the arthritis and my lack of cardiovascular health. I guess my stamina was really quite low, so we did it. It was about, I think it was about maybe 1.6 kilometers or a mile if you're measuring in those measurements. But it was all downhill at first, a little bit of a flat, and then basically all uphill for the last section of it. So again, challenging but worth it. Really glad we did it. Took some really nice photos there as well. That brings us, look at me, I was supposed to be knitting, and I have to count. Give me 2 seconds to count, and then I will tell you the rest. $42, so I have to do 3 more. I like doing them in 45s. Right, so we did the Banff Wellness Retreat. Every year around this time, sort of mid to the later part of October, my best friend and my sister-in-law and I go to Banff, which is just sort of southwest of me as well, and we do this retreat. So I drove to my best friend's place in Calgary, and we loaded all of her stuff, loaded all of my stuff, and head off to Banff. The Banff Wellness Retreat is kind of like it's a yoga retreat, but it's not just yoga. It's yoga and meditation and medicine, naturopathic medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. What else do they have? Psychologists join, naturopathic doctors join. It's just wonderful. It's very, very wonderful. So yeah, we went there and had a lovely weekend, and then I came home and really got back to normal, because we got home from British Columbia, and then basically a week and a bit later I was off again to Banff. So wanted to make sure that my family knew that I still live here, and still obviously I'm part of this family. So we haven't done much since then, other than some homeschooling. I've been reading a bunch, I've been knitting a little. I think I've described this before. I have had a bit of a flare of arthritis since not taking the other drug that I have that helps me with the arthritis but hinders the healing of my wound. So I haven't been taking that drug for a little bit. Maybe I would say the highlight of the Banff Wellness Retreat, like, I am all over the place here. Like, you just gotta bear with me. I've also said 1,000 times as well as wonderful. Sorry about that, but if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. The Banff Wellness Retreat highlight for me was either the sound bath. They do a sound bath right at the very first session, or the session on attachment theory, which I'm extremely interested in. So that was nice, very informative, really sort of brought it to like layman's terms. So really helped me understand kind of the types of attachment and how to kind of manage that within your family. I have done a ton of talking. I feel like it's been all over the place. I really hope that you enjoyed hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the pictures and following along on your map on Google Maps if you chose to do that. I really just wanted to get in front of the camera so that I could say hello again, tell you that I am feeling really quite good. Knock on wood. But that I didn't forget about you. I am still here. I was just in another province and I didn't have the time or the space, literally, to sit and talk to you at all. You would have heard my family talking in the background, or my children while we were doing homeschooling. They would have probably tried to poke their heads in. But yeah, wonderful to have you. It was wonderful to be here. I miss getting in front of the camera, and I will see you when I see you. Until then, stay where you're to till I comes where you're at. Bye.